Hello and good morning, everyone, and welcome to your daily sit rep for Monday, the 27th of October, 2025. I'm your host, Mike Shelby. Robert, good morning. Let's go ahead and jump inside the Beltway here. And these air traffic controllers are set to miss their first full paycheck tomorrow. And there's been a lot of problems reported. I was actually looking at a local airport last night, and something like 50% of the flights were either delayed or just straight up canceled. Seems like it's going to get worse. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mike. Yeah, that's right. This is their first full paycheck. They did get a partial paycheck last week when we've already started to see disruptions. And Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warned over the weekend on one of the Sunday shows that they are expecting these air traffic controller staffing shortages to increase due to this lapse pay, and he expects an increase in flight disruptions. I did check some of the different websites that track disruptions and delay or track flight cancellations and delays this morning before the show. And according to, I forget the name of the site, but they produce what they call the misery map. And most of those delays and cancellations seem to be on the East Coast for now, as of this morning.
Mm-hmm. All right. Speaking of that, there's been a ground stoppage at LAX.
Yeah, the Federal Aviation Administration issued a ground stop at LAX yesterday due to those ATC staffing shortages. They also reported delays at airports in Illinois, New Jersey, Washington, and Florida due to the same staffing shortage. And Transportation Secretary Duffy said that they have had 22 staff shortage related warnings as of yesterday, which is the most since the beginning of the government shutdown.
Mm-hmm. All right. Speaking of, well, let's move on to the next big item from the government shutdown, which is, it seems like all this stuff is starting to cascade here. USDA said that they are not going to reimburse some of the states that choose to pay for SNAP benefits themselves.
Yeah, and this was part of a memo they sent out over last week where they also said that they cannot legally take any kind of contingency funds to cover SNAP for November, and that they are not going to reimburse any of these states like Virginia or Hawaii who have either planning to use emergency funds or have taken funds from other food programs. And they are two of, I think, 37 total states that have been sending out warning letters to both residents and businesses talking about the SNAP shortage, which is the key date is actually tomorrow, because that's when most states start processing SNAP funding.
Mm-hmm. I saw over the weekend, let's see, almost 42 million Americans receive some form of SNAP benefits. That's about 12% of the entire population of this country. It's really astounding, Robert, that 40 million Americans get some sort of free food payments from the federal government, well, from the taxpayers. It almost seems like I know I've seen people online, people that I generally respect, say that there are going to be food riots and there's going to be a massive spike in violence if these people do not get their EBT card funded, or they're not really food stamps anymore. It's just the EBT card. But it seems to me like maybe that's a problem we should look at and maybe try to solve. Not just the violence part, obviously, but that 42 million Americans are getting SNAP benefits at all.
Well, I think it's also I think there's a lot of alarmism about this too, because there is a risk that there are some type of food riots, but there's not really a base case here to say either way, because there's not been a SNAP funding shortage or any kind of glitch with SNAP on the same level as what is set to happen on the 1st. And in the past, when there have been glitches, as we previously reported, they've been short and fixed. They've been fixed quickly, and there were minimal. There weren't any kind of food riots. I think the longest glitch was like a day or two. So, but this means this is unprecedented. So it's not exactly clear what the widespread response of 42 million Americans is going to be on November 1st.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks for that, Robert. Let's go ahead and move on to our global sit rep. Jared, good morning. Starting with the latest out of the Caribbean. It's not the hurricane. It's a carrier strike group headed down there. What's the latest?
Yeah. So the Pentagon ordered the USS Ford carrier strike group to the Caribbean in support of the counter narcotics mission going down there. They were last seen in the Mediterranean. They the Eastern Med at that, so that it may take several days to arrive. And then staying over in Colombia, the U.S. announced sanctions on Colombian President Petro, his family, and the Interior Minister, all for, quoting, for their involvement in the global illicit drug trade over the weekend. Moving over to the Pacific, a helicopter and a fighter went down in two separate incidences from the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group down in the South China Sea. All the crewmen were rescued, but the Navy has not published a cause for the crashes at all, so it remains to be seen. There was also some big news that was very quiet. A manufacturer of one of the autonomous surface vessels or drones announced that a U.S. defense producer, Australia, Japan, and the Philippines all bought this new quick fish drone, and that drone actually got within striking distance of a Chinese warship and presumably its escorts just this summer. And it's designed to be mass produced by any country with no security issues. They even mentioned that it gets flat packed, so you could like send it to Guam by the crate and then just quickly weld them together and have a small fleet. So pretty wild drone. And lastly, when asked if Taiwan would be a bargaining chip in President Trump's potential trade deal with China, Secretary Rubio said that no one is contemplating walking away from Taiwan for a trade deal. So that's really the biggest news out of the trade deal. There is we're not walking away from Taiwan here.
All right. Thanks for that, Jared. And moving on, 53 protests today, well within the baseline. And then coming up over on the early warning briefings, rest of the show, we're going to jump into the Homeland Operations update, talk about the federal law enforcement surges happening across the country. Also have a fair number of radical and revolutionary left-wing news items to get to, including something that's coming up, I guess, next week. There's going to be a big event in D.C. We'll tell you exactly what that is and if it's going to amount to a hill of beans. All right, with that, everyone, thanks so much for watching. That's going to do it for the daily sit rep. The rest of the briefing starts for early warning subscribers right now. Jared, if you would please take us out. Early warning folks, please stand by.